of the beat is coming.
Nah, man.
Sportsstreetstalk. My name is Josh Portis.
I'm Rob Gordon.
I'm Rob Jones.
And today we have a very special guest in the building today. One of our own, Terp own, Torrey Smith came in the building to come in and support, and he wanted to tune in. Torrey, welcome to the show, man.
Appreciate y'all having me, man.
We call this the boardroom, as we say. Call this the boardroom. But before I wanted to get started, man, when I first met Torrey, obviously we was at the University of Maryland.
Take us back, dog. Tell us a story.
and the thing about it is with Torrey, I think I was a sophomore at the time, and he came in as a freshman, and he was just so hungry to learn. I mean, the guy was just so hungry to learn. I knew he was going to be great. I saw it in his eyes right then and there, and he just wanted to know more. Don't you? You just want to. Somebody you can see in their eyes. They just want to know more, want to learn more, want to grow more. And that's what Torrey was. And he just likes to soak in a lot of information. He wants to get better today. And it still doesn't stop to today. I mean, the guy's doing a lot of different things in the communities, especially in the Baltimore area. He's just a remarkable person to be around, number one. And number two, he's just a great person in general. So, Torrey, I just wanted to mention that to you. And then, but this episode, we're talking about family first. And we all know how family is important. So, before I get into it, Rob, you got anything you want to say?
I want to say thank you for coming and sit down in the boardroom, bro.
Appreciate the invite, man.
Yeah. We same class of 2007. We were talking about some things offline. I want to bring those topics to the forefront here because it was definitely some financial literacy things in there that we want to talk about. But first of all, thank you for coming through. I know you got kids and a family, so thank you for taking it away from your family for this episode of Family First. Appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate what y'all doing, man. Some good stuff going on.
Appreciate you, Torrey. Appreciate you.
Rob?
Nah, I just want to thank you for coming through, bro. Colonial Beach on. I did a little bit of research on you. I got a couple friends who know you personally, so it's good to have you, bro.
Yeah, for sure, man. Let's get to it.
Let's get into it.
So we're talking about family first. We're going to pretty much go around the room and obviously just describe, family culture, pretty much everybody in general. I know last episode we talked about culture rays and how everybody just pretty much grew up in a different culture, right? Everybody has a different upbringing, everybody in different states. But my family, I didn't have my father around. My mother was pretty much that person, my rock. And the funny thing is, every time I talk to Torrey, what you say, Torrey?
Hey, how your mama doing?
How your mama doing, right?
Oh, dude.
It's just and she Torrey knows about Patricia. P squared, as they call her, but she was, my everything. My mom was the, mom and dad. Obviously, a woman can't teach a man how to be a man, but she was that figure, that rock that I leaned on, and she was everything. That's all I had. Right now, she's still out in Seattle, doing some business out there. She's an interior designer. But we always put the family first and how we can help family. Blood is, all we have majority of the time. So I don't have any brothers or sisters, but I do have my mother, and my folks are my grandma and my cousins and aunties and uncles. Believe it or not, everybody, they're from Mobile, Alabama. Now down south, it's just a country route. So when I go around and I go to like different stores and I have a southern slang going on, they be like, you from Cali, but you have this different type of twang to you. You have this southern drawl a little bit sometimes when you talk, and you have this, this West Coast drawl when you talk sometimes. So, my roots, my deep roots is, really from the South, Mobile, Alabama, but, I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California. So it's kind of a different mix when you have those different type of cultures mixing around. You see what I'm saying, Torrey? And it was, something that I, embraced. So that was a little bit about my family. So what about you, man?
I grew up in, like you said, mentioned Colonial Beach, Virginia, a little small town. And I was raised by my mother as well. You know my mother very well. But I was also raised by my grandmother. I'm the oldest of 7. We deep in the Smith household. And, you know, coming up, things weren't always easy. So that's why it kind of really made me the man I am today. I heard you mention, you know, a woman can't really turn you to a man. But I swear my mother was damn near as close as you can get to helping me be a man. You know, and I think my coaches kind of helped to fill in that gap. But, you know, things were tough for us. You know, my mother would be in and out of jail. She was in a very abusive marriage at one point. And, you know, we moved. We were doing the math the other day. I was talking to my mom probably like 16 times or so before I was, 20 times before I was 16. We moved different places. So it's pretty interesting to just see the journey, to see how far she has come. You know, now she's successful doing real estate, helping mentor other young women who were in her situation, and she's being a role model for a lot of other people now. So life's crazy, and I'm thankful that we can, you know, look back on that now. And I use everything from my childhood and all my decisions that I've made were so that my kids didn't have to experience the same things that I had to deal with, the same traumatic experiences and the abuse or whatever it may have been. So family is everything to me.
You know, piggyback off what he said about his mother. You know, his you know, when I was at Maryland, I believe that his mother was like my second mom, because my mom was so far away, and like she used to, "What's up, Josh?" You know, she used to come up to me and be like, "Well, you run up on me like I was one of her own." And I remember it was yesterday. And you know, she's doing well now. She always has a great spirit about her. That's one thing that I remember about your mom. She had a great spirit about her, Torrey. She really did. And she's carrying that to the day. So I want to really pretty much get into, like, you know, your dynamic of your family, right? Obviously you do a lot for your family, man. You're the epitome of a family man. And, you know, a lot of people respect you. People tell me all the time, you talk to Torrey still? You're very highly respected, man. You really are. And, you know, just dive in a little bit about, you know, your everyday life with your family, with your kids, and tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, you know, I'm married, been married 7 years now. I always use my my firstborn as a landmark, because we got married, and about 9 months or so later, he was there. So it's exactly how they say it happens. It worked on our end. Right. But, you know, I have 3 kids, 2 boys, 6'4". My daughter's 1. She was a surprise at the end. But that's it for the Smith household.
Is it it?
Is
it it?
You
ain't gonna have a drunken night?
The shop is shut down. It ain't happening. Right. But, you know, for me, man, you know, they're everything to me. I feel like, you know, when I sit back and I talk and I think about my family, how it is right now, it's crazy, you know, and sometimes I kind of get emotional thinking about it, because, like, they're everything that I prayed for and hoped for that I didn't see, right? You create this picture in your mind of, like, man, you don't know what your wife is going to look like. You don't know what your kids are going to look like. But I knew I wanted stability, and I wanted this family. I wanted to be married first, then have kids, because I feel like a lot of those issues were the cause of, you know, the problems that I had. You know, the relationship with my father that didn't exist much until I was older. So I wanted to make sure that I was doing things to break that cycle in my family, and it worked. So when I look at them, I'm like, man, this is, you know, I'm really seeing what I prayed for, and, you know, I'm for sure thankful for it each and every day.
That's lit,
so, yeah, how has becoming a father impacted your life? Like, what changes did you have to make?
You know what it's been? I tell people all the time, I feel like I knew everything about being a father except for actually working. I was the oldest of 7. You know, my mom be working 2 jobs. I had the kids. I had to cook, clean, make sure they were straight, give them baths, put them on a school bus, help with their homework, you know, do the whole 9. So I basically was a parent as a child. And when I actually had my own, you realize, like, you can't give them to anyone. You know, like, I'm responsible for them. So I for sure carried a different type of weight and type of pride. And my kids, honestly, they changed me the most in terms of helping me realize so many issues that I had within myself.
Kids will do that too.
You know, whether it's insecurities or how I struggle with emotions and trying to express love. that's something that was even weird for me with women. I never really like telling somebody I love you was like the most uncomfortable thing in the world for me. And so my wife helped bring me out of that, but my kids, it was natural. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that they weren't the same like me as a child, because the word I love you had no meaning to me because I only heard it when things were going bad and it was like a makeup. Right. Like, we had a shelter or we got to move or we're here. Or I'm talking to my mom behind bars and she's like, I love you. I'm like, well, if you love me, then what are these actions? Like, why do you keep leaving me, right? You know what I'm saying? So to me, I associated real early that, love is the phrase means nothing without action. Right. And so I realized I built up all these walls and it impacted the way I was with other people. Even my own family, I just never said it. My actions showed you I loved you. Right. And so they kind of opened me up more. I'm comfortable telling all my family members I love them. And I make sure of that because I know that tomorrow isn't promised. But really until I had kids, that wasn't something I was doing.
Okay. So talk to us a little bit about your life in the NFL. So we know that you're retired now. Congratulations on that.
I appreciate it.
Congratulations on moving past that. So tell us a little bit about your career and your thoughts on career and family as it relates to your career.
Yeah, when my career is one of the biggest blessings in my life, man. A lot of people don't know this, but I've talked about it a couple times, but I left College Park early because my mother was incarcerated. Wow. She was incarcerated from February to like almost camp. And her house was about to get foreclosed on. And in August around that time, I don't know how, I don't even know why they believe me. I said, if y'all can wait till New Year's, I'm going to have the money. That worked. And they were like, all right, you have until New Year's to run us our money. Right. Or y'all got to get out this house. And I ended up playing well. I was on pace to graduate, which I did, which was my number one goal anyways, to graduate from college because I knew football wasn't going to last forever. Okay. And I was able to, make sure my family was safe and had a place to stay. So for me, from the beginning, it's always been about helping my mother. She's been through so much. A lot of decisions she made put her in some tough situations. But there's times where, now that I'm older, I realized the environment that she was in, the crowd that she was in, the man that she was in a relationship with at one point. I realized now as an adult how much influence men have in their words and their actions. I know that from being myself. Right. And so I've learned so much about that, and everything in the league was to protect them. And my decisions aligned with trying to protect my family as well. That didn't exist at the time. Right. I didn't get engaged until, I guess I did get engaged my first year I got engaged my second year in the league. And I was married that next season, but I had to start making shifts from, okay, I want to make sure my mom is straight, my younger siblings are straight, to now I have to make sure that my wife is straight and that my kids that don't exist are straight. So I had to learn financial literacy in a different way. I had always been a kid that was able to sacrifice because I was the oldest. Like, I was comfortable not having the newest shoes, not having the coolest clothes, because I knew that if I could go without it, my mom would have more to do for my siblings.
So what step did you take while you were in the league to make sure that your family was financially secure?
Oh, yeah. By the time I left, I was by my fourth year, or after my fourth year, I was able to purchase my mom's home. Wow. So, my mom doesn't do that. She doesn't have any bills. I've been able to do very well in the league to provide for her financially. But even with my own family, make sure that they're secure, make sure that they're comfortable long term. And that's a big blessing. That wasn't, to me, I think when you talk about success, my definition of success doesn't involve money. Right.
How would you
it's stability.
Okay, stability.
All growing up, I knew what it was like to live all over the place, right? I didn't know where you were going to eat that night, not knowing where you're going to live. So stability to me, Oprah is just as capable of that as the janitor that's in this building that we're in right now, and to me, I was able to achieve that. Everything else was just extra. Making sure that my mom was all the way straight, that was just extra. But to be able to know where I'm going to sleep every night, know that I'm going to have a meal to eat, that's what means the most to me.
Wow.
Just to piggyback off what you said, you just heard it. Materialistic things, it don't matter. And I'm the same way. Like, it's something that I'm glad, I'm thankful and blessed each and every day when I wake up that I have a place to stay, food to eat, and having income, having some type of income coming in. But I don't have to be the richest guy in the world. I don't have to be, the most famous guy in the world. That doesn't mean nothing to me. Your heart, the morals that you stand for is more important than that. And that's just being just real with yourself and checking yourself in the mirror every single day.
Well, one thing I can say, being a father of one, I don't got three, but I got one. Being a father of one, man, it's changed my perspective on just materialism. I mean, when I was 24, 25, you couldn't tell me I wanted the fastest car. You know what I mean? I wanted the bag. I was going to do anything to get it. You know what I mean? Like, so little dope, you know, whatever it took. But when I got my son, it reeled me in, man. It was just like, this is what's important. This is what it means. Like, making sure that he has the future that you didn't have, or making sure that he has the things that you didn't have, and secure a future for him so that he doesn't have to do any of the things that you did to get to where you are. Mm-hmm. So that's what it was, and where the importance lies for me in regards to kids. Josh, you wouldn't know this yet.
Look,
you'll get there. You're gonna get there. But what I'm saying is, kids give you that push to kind of mellow everything out.
You know, your priorities change. You realize that you're responsible for this individual's livelihood. And one thing that I try to talk to my friends and family members about that may do some things to get to some money, that in their heart, they're like, man, I'm providing for my child. I try to remind them that the best thing that you can do for your child is to simply be there. If you're dead or in jail, you're not helping them, right? And that's something that a lot of people struggle with. And, you know, I think when you realize and you've seen it, for me, I didn't want to repeat the cycle. Like, I'm a firm believer in, like, man, we can learn from other people's mistakes. And that's the same with financial literacy. I've seen players making decisions, going to the club, popping bottles, doing all of these things, blowing money. We did it. Like, why do I have to learn, you know what I mean, for myself when I'm seeing it happen? And it's the same with kids. If I know that experience of feeling like you're alone or that support system isn't there, why would I repeat that cycle? And it's not that simple. I'm saying it like it's simple. It's not, because it's a mental issue just as much, because it's like you don't know what you don't know. And it's a conscious effort each and every day to change the man that you are.
Right. So, yeah, Torrey, you say you got a 4-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 1-year-old. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things you're instilling in them at an early age? I saw something about you beating up on your son.
Oh, Madden?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, bro. I'll blow him out right now.
Blow the doors off.
What? Beat the brakes out of him. I don't want to score a point.
No break.
No. Like, this world doesn't let up on you.
That's right.
You know, I got
being a black dad, dog. You gotta
tell it. People like, oh man, I let my son. No, because my son will talk noise too, so that don't.
Oh yeah,
Dad. I want my dad. Like, nah, bro, you gonna earn this. Because there's gonna be a time. There's gonna be a time where he's gonna whoop me and I can't control it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get these wins while I can. But seriously though, man, when you think about it, from my perspective, my kids are raised in a very privileged environment that I wasn't raised in. So I don't know how to parent from this place. Like, it's different. So how do I teach them how to what the struggle feels like? How do I teach them to view everyone like themselves without them actually being in a situation where you're looking around and everyone that you're living around is in the same situation? Yeah, right. Like, it's different for me. And honestly, that's my biggest challenge as a parent. Right. Yeah, like, I want to make sure that he's humble. You know, when I'm in the community, perfect example, the other day, we were feeding unloading trucks with this group called We Are Us in Baltimore. And they're feeding the families right in the middle of the track in Zone 15 in Baltimore. Baltimore. My 2 kids are with me, my boys, helping, grabbing food, handing it to people. Mm-hmm. And they understand at 4 and 6 years old that everyone doesn't have food. So when they talk about, like, man, there's times where you know what your grandma had to do to make sure that we have food? Mm-hmm. I'm like, y'all got to understand that it's not that simple, so you got to be grateful. And I don't want them to view people as a pity case. Right. But I want them to understand, if you're in a position, you need to help other people and that you aren't any better than them. So I feel like by exposing them to that early, I'm helping them, because the reality of it is there are situations like that, but all of our family members aren't. Right. So I don't want them to be shocked when they're visiting a family member's house and it doesn't look the same. Right. Because I treat everyone the same regardless. I don't care if they're the richest person or the poorest person. I want them to have that same type of mentality.
Yeah, that's real.
To piggyback off, you know, what Rob said, not to change the subject or anything like, but just to transition a little bit over to the, you know, the parenting side, and, you know, not me having kids, right? Not me having kids. I don't have kids. Look, right?
You don't want none right now.
No, I don't. No. I don't want none right now. But the time will come.
You don't. Trust
me. Let me ask you this, right? I was actually having a conversation earlier with one of my buddies of mine out in the West Coast, and we was talking about, like, he has kids, right? He has 3 kids, and I was just like, you know, the money that you guys spend on diapers,
man.
like,
Add up, bro.
they add up, right? Like,
Man.
and the thing about it is, like how is that, like, for you guys to have kids, like the diaper changing, like the food feeding, like the parenting, like when they're young, like how's that experience, and what does that like change about you guys, how you look at the future and like
I'm gonna take it
raising
first.
your kids?
So you could be cheap and go get the rinsable diapers. They got those. You know what I'm saying? They got those.
They got Rob?
They got the rinsable diapers,
Old
bro. You got the old diaper, yeah, boom, and you do like this and rinse the joint out and put the joint back on your baby, yeah. Oh yeah. Trust me, I tried them because diaper was tearing me out the frame. Diapers is like $25-ish, depending on if you get the high brand, yeah, you know what I mean, the size and stuff like that, and you know, diapers that's expensive, bro.
They say it's about $300 a month.
Yeah. No question.
Kids add up.
Kids add up, bro.
And I don't know if that's just 1 or 2 or 3.
Oh no, he shit. My son shit
you
3 times a day.
You changing that diaper 5+ times.
Yeah.
So you run through a bag.
Easily. If I see that color change once, I'm getting it off my child.
Yeah, off the brain.
And that's
Because you don't want the
You don't want it on the rash on their butt. Yeah,
and that's
man.
all a part of financial literacy. When you talk about having a kid, responsibilities, we all like to talk about the fun that goes into having a child.
At the end.
But when you have it,
Man,
it's a game changer, man.
diapers, food,
Man,
I'm talking about when we had my son's mom. She was not with the canned food and buying food, man. She made my son's food from scratch, bro. I'm talking about she in the kitchen. I'm like, what you in there doing? She like, I gotta make his food. I'm like, okay, like why we can't just feed him the canned food? You know, she wasn't going for all organic diets and all of that stuff because that helps the development of the child. You know what I mean? From the brain and stuff like that. They putting, you know, all kinds of chemicals in the food. You don't know what your kid eating, dog. You don't want that. Like you want them to have the best food. Like you gonna eat a steak, right? You gonna go to a restaurant, you gonna eat a steak. You gonna eat the best steak or some type of vegetables or whatever the case may be, but then you gonna feed your kid basically the McDonald's version of baby food. Like, nah, you ain't gonna do that, man. You know what I mean? So you gotta make responsible decisions when you start having kids.
Right.
You know?
So like Torrey, right? You've had a pretty great career. I mean, you're a Super Bowl champion, 2-time Super Bowl champion. You know, 8-year pro.
Everybody in
Yeah.
2-time Super Bowl champion, right? Baltimore Ravens, Philadelphia Eagles. You know, former 8-year pro. One of the best deep threats in the game in our generation, man. What, 16 yards a catch, 17 yards a catch, something like that?
So I might have dropped a little bit.
16.8.
I mean, but what I'm getting to is this, you know, to have that successful career. You talk about your wife, you know, how she's been supportive with you during that, you know, run that you had in the league, and talk about, like, you know, the challenges and talk about some of the majority of the wins that you guys had together.
Hey, man, my wife, when it comes to this game, was everything. My peace of mind. You know,
Talk about that.
I struggle, man, with balancing my family and money. The expectations that come with that. Being drafted by what's considered your home team, playing for Maryland, going to Baltimore. Dealing with that pressure. Everyone's expecting me to be the same guy from day one. Coming in the lockout, I only had 30 days to be ready.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of different challenges that come with that. The highs and lows of playing the game, and she was there the whole way. And, you know, that type of balance was huge. And she exposed me to so many different things in terms of support.
Right.
You know, I mentioned earlier, we were talking off air, like I never really cared about people coming to my games, but it was because I used to tell people to come to my games all the time. And I would look back and nobody would come. Right. And so I stopped looking back into the crowd. Yeah. And then, you know, I mean, my wife, she coming to games like everybody's waving at their girlfriend and you just sitting there looking straight forward. And I'm like, man, I'm focused on the game. I don't have any time to be worried about y'all. But then I realized I wasn't just focused on the game. Like I stopped looking back for a reason. So she helped me realize something about myself that I didn't have. And then I realized, like, man, when I looked and knew they were there, it did mean more. And it's a time that, you know, like I know my kids now just try to change that cycle. My kids now, if I ain't there, he loses his mind. Right? The norm for him is for both of us to be there, and that lets me know I take a lot of pride in that because, like, man, that experience is completely different than mine coming up.
Yeah, for sure. I can speak to that, man. My dad was a coach for a little while, so in my career. Then when I kind of went to high school, he was still kind of coaching like little league. And he wasn't at no games. I'm talking about performance until I figured it out. We got 3 minutes. Until I figured it out. And once I figured it out and could play through it, then I was all right. But you look for that parent to be there,
man. And you don't realize, like a lot of people don't realize it, right? And when when you have that support system, man, it's such a blessing.
Yeah.
And for me, that was my coaches or my other friends, moms and dads. Anybody. It means a lot, but it's different when it's somebody that you really want to be there.
Right.
It's different, man.
Or you made a play, you like,
yeah, you looking around,
yeah, like it's nobody celebrate with, like, all right.
You got to tell them about it. Like it doesn't hit the same as when you could talk about it together, or they bragging about something that you did.
Right.
It means a lot when you're younger.
Say less.
Well, what's up, Rock?
Man, I'm over here just talking, man. I mean, just thinking. Quick question though, Torrey. Like, who are some of the brothers that you kind of adopted into your family that you played with, just over a period of time?
Yeah, say Steve Smith, Anquan Bolden.
Great wide receiver.
Those are two of my male role models when we talk about being in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Two good men.
Who your favorite wide receiver all time?
Randy Moss.
Yeah?
Hands down.
Moss?
Randy Moss, yeah.
Who you patting your career
when
after?
you talk about us shooting a basket, holla Kobe, like you
Randy?
you
Moss.
Yeah, we ain't say nobody else. League is over.
So he would you say that you patterned your game after Randy Moss?
I would say I learned some tricks from him for sure.
Okay.
The way he tracked the deep ball, same with T.O.
Yeah.
I watched him a lot on film.
Love T.O.
They dig and they're trusting that the quarterback's going to put the ball out there.
Every
and that's
time.
something that for sure was a staple in the way I played.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to get back into it. We're going to take a quick break and stay tuned, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Sports and Street Talk. Thanks for tuning back in. So we was just, talking about, family first and everybody talking about their experiences. Obviously, how they was brought up and, with kids. Obviously, I don't have any kids, but I really wanted to dive into this COVID situation with the family now, right? We're in this COVID situation era where we don't even know what's going to happen next, right? Rob, you have a kid. Torrey, you have kids, multiple. But Torrey, I wanted to talk about, just that pretty much the adaptation to this, right? I mean, you have kids now, they're talking about, even kids can get this or this virus, how you're maneuvering, in, embracing this type of challenge, as a family, right? How you guys are going about it day by day, to keep you guys safe.
Yeah, I try to, we both leave the house now, but for the first probably 3 months, my kids never even stepped in the car. I'd be the person that's going to the store, doing the things that we had to do. I almost felt like we were neglecting them. I'm like, man, they aren't getting any sunshine outside of our yard, But the reality of it is, their health and what we didn't know was very scary to me.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I'm still very cautious in terms of where I go, how I move, for their sake, and also, my grandma and my mom, they still live in Virginia, but my grandmother, if she was to have COVID, I believe that it would be a tough battle for her.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a cousin right now that's on a ventilator that's only 50 years old. So it's something that's very real, and I recognize that, so I'm just trying to be safe. Obviously, I can't control everything, but I'm trying to take the steps that are necessary, and, there's virtual learning going on. Right now, they'll be back to school here shortly, but we decided to homeschool our kids. That's probably a luxury on our part. My wife was a former teacher, so she's already doing that anyways, and honestly, they're learning more from her than they are in school virtually learning. So, both of my kids, 4, 6, TJ's probably on like a 3rd grade reading level right now. He has a 6-year-old.
That's lit.
And Cam is reading stuff as well now. So, it's an adjustment. But, it plays into our favor in terms of forcing me to be more active and engaged with their educational
Right,
process.
it does.
And
Absolutely.
my wife being able to do that as well. So while there are some challenges, it does help us and force us. And I think it really forces a lot of us to be more engaged with our kids, because now we are invested in their education in a different way. We can't just pass it on to the teachers like we normally do, like their daycare. Like, all right, see it now. You know, we have to be invested in it more.
For sure. I speak to that, man. My son has actually started back school, and he's doing online learning. It's difficult. You know what I mean? I got a 3-year-old, and him trying to pay attention to a computer screen with other people on it is the most challenging thing I think I ever had to do as a parent. I mean, to the point where I gotta be sitting there with dude like, come on, bro, you got it. You got this. You know what I mean? I tell him all the time, bro, focus and finish. You got to focus through this and finish. And he'll sit there, and he's got about 4 classes, and they change classes, and they got a little schedule, and he gets some downtime, some nap time and stuff like that. But it's difficult because my son, his attention span, he has an attention span of a gnat. So he'll be there and he in and out. So it's like, man, I'm so serious, dude.
You feel like you at a disadvantage having them at the house?
For mine, yeah, because my son likes to be interactive with other kids. And I think by him being around other kids helps him learn better, because then he can focus in that type of environment. I think with being at either with his mom or with me, with his mom, he always want to lay up in his mama lap, first of all. So that's terrible. And then with me, he always want to fight or wrestle or play. I'm like, dude, you got to pay attention to class. You know what I mean? So it's just a different type of situation. But I think he, you know, being at home gives him a certain comfort level that he doesn't have in the classroom. But we still try. I'm still, you know, teaching them after that stuff is over. We still do the, you know, certain learnings and writing and reading and stuff like that. So I'm not counting on that, but it's a difficult situation, dog.
I'd say the majority of kids suffer from virtual learning. Yeah. Like, I'm an adult, and you got about, I'm on them Zoom meetings now, like, man, I got about a smooth 15, 20 minutes.
Attention span.
Tune out.
Right. You know, and then the social aspect that we're missing out, being with their friends and engaging, that's something that is huge for one of my boys. You know, him being around other kids and him learning how to navigate and how to just be himself is huge. Like, you can't do that when you're just around your mom and dad all day, or your auntie or your babysitter or whoever it may be. So there are a lot of things that go into it, but it'll be better for a lot of, but then on the other side of that, there are some kids that are older that it's like, hey, listen, they don't do well in that social environment because of the pressure, whether it's literally how they dress going to school or bullying or whatever it may be. You know, for some of them, it may be a positive, but for a 3-year-old or 4-year-old or 6-year-old, like my kids, it's not the best situation for them.
Absolutely.
Do you think virtual learning will affect how kids learn? Do you think some kids learn better hands-on? Do you think some kids learn better virtually? I mean, that's up in the air right now, and it's something that, you know, we don't know, right? It's the big unknown, right?
I think as you say, a lot of people do learn. You're seeing that in some places. Like, think about I can speak to Baltimore City directly. So there are a lot of challenges in Baltimore City when it comes to the education system and people being on grade level. A couple of the schools that are closest to where we'll be actively involved, only less than 17% of them are on grade level or above. Wow. When it comes to reading and writing. So
that's crazy.
That's an alarming stat. So if it was that way, hands-on learning, with teachers there, with aides there,
it's going to be way
How is it going to be if someone trying to put you in front of a computer and telling you to do it?
First of all, who has computers? When you're talking about an underprivileged environment, who has computers? So now we barely got phones. You know what I mean? It's barely iPads. No real computers. So what are we doing? They going to the library, which is you're still putting yourself at risk to go to the library or wherever you have to go. These kids don't have computers. So now you're talking about, what if a kid doesn't financially have the means to get a computer? Now he's a whole year behind. You know what I mean? Like, how is he going to do the learning? How is he going to do the work? Now you're talking about that 17% slips down to 13.
Yes,
14,
easily.
12.
And they're learning. These school districts are going to have to spend more money, which most of them are, right? But check this out. So now, let's speak to Baltimore City directly. They're going to be able to give every kid a laptop now due to fundraising and groups and donations, right? But who has internet at home?
Next thing.
Right. So like, that's a whole other challenge, right? So no matter how it works, it doesn't benefit the kids in certain communities, and there's a huge advantage for kids that live in better neighborhoods and in better areas.
And you to piggyback off what you said, now you see the internet prices dropping now for a month.
It's gonna have to.
It's gonna have to because some kids, what you said, are impoverished, right? Some families can't afford internet, so they're gonna have to, obviously drop the price down so the kids can learn, right? Mm-hmm. So that's something that we need to take a look at.
It's multi-layered, bro.
It's
super multi-layered.
It's eye-opening, actually, right?
Yeah.
It's very eye-opening. So I mean, we live in times where things are, it's up in the air. But the only thing we can do is move forward, adapt and move accordingly, as we would say, right, Rock?
That's right. So with the COVID going on, you think your kids are gonna be deprived socially or something?
I think for my son being 6, it's not that big of a deal, right? We'll have his cousins come by sometimes, and there's 2 neighbors that'll come by every once in a while. So it's not that big. It's not that big of a deal for him. But for your high school sophomore, or your high school freshman, the person that's going to be there in high school for the first time, they're not going to have that opportunity to find their new friends, to know who to hang with, right? Mm-hmm. Who they're around. That social type of environment is different. And for some parents, they may love that because they feel like they're sheltering their child. Yeah. They can protect them longer.
Right.
But for other kids, they're missing out on homecoming. They're seniors. Man. They're missing out on prom. Woo. They're missing out on so many different things. So it impacts everyone at a different level.
Have you started preparing for the future, especially what we got social injustice going on and everything? Have you prepared the talk that you're going to have with your sons?
Oh, that talk is happening already.
Yeah,
for real, straight up.
How you handling that? Just as a dad, my son's 3. How you handling your 6-year-old?
The first time your son comes up to you, and because people like to talk about, they're too young, leave them out of that. Let them be innocent.
Heck no.
Well, my son he plays around his iPad and he sees stuff on TV. So when he comes up to you and asks you who is George Floyd and why is everyone angry about it,
right?
That's a conversation that has to be had.
It is. Okay.
Right? And so I talked to him about that because we live in an area that the majority of the people are white. And so I feel like as a parent, your goal is to equip your child with knowledge and everything that they have, right? So I don't want my child to experience racism and not know that it didn't exist.
Right.
He's going to know how to handle it, how to address it, and depending on the environment, there's gonna be some punches thrown, or he's gonna be calling me.
Definitely gonna be some punches.
Right, straight up. Like, that's just how it is, right?
Sure.
But I don't want him to be alarmed because you have kids that they don't know what hit them. Like, and I still remember the first time I was called the N-word, right?
Yeah.
And when he gets older, that conversation that happens with guns, people look at me and they're like, "Oh, you're clean cut. You've never been in trouble. You never this. You never that." Well, I've had guns drawn on me 3 or 4 different times by police officers.
For sure.
So it's a conversation that has to be had because we've learned that it's not about what you're doing. It's not about how good of a person you are. It's not about where you live.
Right.
If you are black, that's the issue.
No, it's the issue. So speaking of which, and I'm glad that we brought this up. So you guys saw the news recently with Jacob Blake and what happened to him. He got shot 7 times in his back by cops when he was unarmed, actually getting into his vehicle. And today, specifically on this particular day, the NBA has actually chose to protest these particular actions and not play a game of basketball. Now, I don't know if that's going to last through the rest of the season or, where we are in that process. But how do you gentlemen, I'm going to pose this to all of you guys. How do you gentlemen feel about it with the NBA taking the first step in the sports world? And how do you think that that'll trickle down amongst everybody else? Because we got an NFL season that may or may not happen. We got baseball, we got soccer, we have, tennis, we have all these other sports that are about to play. So how do we feel about it as black men and as a culture and as a whole?
I mean, when you look at it, right? I mean, let's just keep it 100 here. The NBA is predominantly black, right? Yep. I mean, it's kind of really predominantly ran by African Americans. If you look at their management, the president, everything in that realm of upper level management is predominantly black, right? It's the show business, right? Then when you look at the NFL, we don't know who owns it. We don't know.
We know. We know.
They white, bro.
Yeah, I'm about to say we know.
White, Jews. I don't know what the case may be.
Both.
But it's different ran. Now the NFL is going to go forward with this. The NBA, they're like, we're done. We're done with this. And a lot of players are speaking about in the NBA. Obviously, you've seen George Hill. He was very upset a couple days ago. He said, "I don't even know why I'm here." And the Milwaukee Bucks obviously, boycotted the game, and now the rest of the league is following it. Now, after we've seen that, I mean, we look at the NFL. Now what? What's the NFL
That's
gonna do?
that's what
I
want to see.
The NFL actually made the first move.
Which
the
move?
Detroit Lions canceled practice,
Okay.
saying that, hey, we're not practicing. We want to draw attention to this. Then less than 24 hours later,
Here come the NBA.
the NBA said, no, if we could take it a step further. We're not playing a playoff game on national TV that we know millions of people are going to watch. And what they're doing is they're forcing people to take their attention to where it should be on the issues and challenges. You can't keep avoiding it.
Yep.
And there's always going to be this time where people want to compete and say sports and politics don't match. It's not sports and politics. It's sports and human rights.
It is.
And in this country, when you have players who are African American and they're talking about issues that impact them and their communities, we should have more people rallying around it. Because if you can cheer for me on Sunday to run down the field to catch a 9 route, you should be able to cheer and be supportive when I'm telling you that we're hurting here and you can help. Because as long as we continue to pander and try to educate black people on what's going on, we aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
We need to have the white America just as invested in educating themselves as well. Because I think what we've learned since Cap kneeled 4 years ago, people have went on this education process, even black people. And there's been things that we haven't known. That we learned,
centuries.
even about your area, about Juneteenth and something.
It's now a celebration,
depending on where you live, right? That was a big deal in Texas, but I take a lot of pride in my black pride and what I know, and I had no clue about Juneteenth.
None?
Not a single, till 2 years ago.
Give me your black card.
Till 2 years ago.
Pull your black card out
clue,
your wallet.
right? So why are we celebrating all these other days? Right? Juneteenth is something that, now that I know what it is, it's an important day to me.
Yeah.
But I didn't learn about that in school. I learned who the first president was.
Okay.
I'm from that same area as George Washington and Robert E. Lee, Colonial Beach.
Have you been to the spots?
Right. Oh, yeah. I know all about what them cats said.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's everything. That's all that's down my way.
Okay.
But I had no one ever told me about Juneteenth. I asked a question on Twitter probably about a year ago, and the Virginia History Library hit me.
Okay.
Trying to hey, we want to help you find your roots. Because I was like, man, as black people, unless you come straight from Nigeria and true African roots, like from your immediate family, we don't know where we're from. I envy the Irish kid or the German kid that can say, hey, my mom's from here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, I don't know anything.
My mom is from.
Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, all I know is I'm from Westmoreland County, Virginia. I know George Washington's from there. I know Robert E. Lee's from there. And my family never left, which tells me one thing. We came from slavery.
Slavery.
So I went and they showed me stuff. They showed me things from my family when they were slaves. They showed me things. And one thing that honestly changed my perspective, I already felt this way. But one of my family members, one of the first freed men to register to vote in Virginia.
Oh, wow.
And so to
last
me.
name Smith.
So actually Ball on my mom's side. So to me, that was an eye opener to me. Because I've always been very outspoken about voting and using your right because I know that they're trying to take it away from you.
Yep. And
people feel like, oh, well, if you vote, it doesn't matter. I'm like, no, it does matter. Right? And to see that, it's like, no.
That's why.
It mattered to
your
a family member back in the 1800s.
That's right. Yeah.
It better matter right now in 2020. And we're talking about black men and women dying at the hands of, being unarmed and dying at the hands of officers. It should matter.
Yeah.
And understanding that and continuing to educate myself there, man, it's a mission it's a life's mission. And then we all have that responsibility to do more and help.
And I think that not just white America, but other ethnicities, right? I mean,
Asians,
they
take our
Mexicans, money. I mean, all cultures, right? I think people look at what we go through and be like, it'll boil over. They'll be okay.
They'll be all right.
They'll be all right. They'll get over it. It'll be all right. We'll go back to normal. No, we need to attack this issue now.
Yeah, they listen.
And I think that's why the NBA needs to do what they're doing. I think the NFL needs to do that as well. I think players of position of power, platform need to. They're the only ones that really can have. We have a voice. We have a voice. All the players have a platform. Use it.
So what does a win look like? Because I think sometimes we get
That's
caught.
A great question.
I think sometimes we get caught up in you need to do this, you need to do that. What does a win look like? I think we have our own challenges within ourselves because what I think is a win.
All right,
so that's a perfect example. I believe that everything we've had in this country in a positive way changed because of legislation.
Correct.
We're free.
Correct.
Because someone changed
For
the
it.
laws.
And
that
the laws
we can
are-
vote.
correct.
Because someone didn't, like, they defeated Jim Crow. The majority of it, a lot of it still exists.
Right.
It's like,
Okay, yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So
because
like,
it-
that's
because
my view, but I can
right.
talk to somebody else and be like, the whole system got to go. Why are you voting? You're voting, you're aiding the system, right?
I mean, but the system is created. You got to either figure out whether you're going to be in it or not. It ain't no in between. You can't say, all right, we need to demolish the system. Well, in order to demolish it, we have to use it to get to where we need to be. You know what I mean? Like, so when people say, like, this is the one thing that I hate about black people and dealing with us, bro. I don't do that credit stuff. What are you talking about? You want to elevate yourself and get to another level, you have to use the system.
Just because you don't know.
It's because it's ignorance. You know what I mean? Like,
educate yourself,
but,
right?
But to go back to correct.
Educate yourself. It's in books.
Always. It's
research.
Always.
Grow mentally. Go back. I don't want to cut you off.
No, you good, family.
Roll, baby.
But so what I'm saying is to go back to what you said as far as having a solution. This is what I feel. I feel like black people, we need to come town hall meeting.
Straight up.
What are we talking about? What are we fighting for? Because Democrats, Republicans, I don't give a fuck if it's both of them together. Nobody has our best interest on their platform. I don't give a fuck who you vote for, whether it's Biden, whether it's Trump. What we getting? I don't care. What are we getting?
And it's not clear.
It's not clear. It hasn't been clear.
We don't have a universal, because people don't look. Like we don't have a clear black agenda. People are like, well, what is the black agenda? What do you do for black people? Well, why don't we come with the demands?
We need a demand. We need a list
of what we want, right?
We need a list.
And I think as long as we continue to educate each other on what that looks like, again, I know what I personally think.
What you want?
I'll
say,
if
they say what you need right now, what you want?
I speak for the people who are in marginalized communities. Right?
Yep.
You need investment there. Not just investment like what they're doing in DC right now, where they're coming in, they're kicking people out, they're changing things up. No. Invest in that neighborhood, but you still keep it so that there's affordable housing there.
Correct.
So people aren't just getting pushed out.
Correct.
Like you create new job opportunities.
Right.
You make marijuana legal.
Yeah.
You make marijuana legal.
And teach people how to sell it legally.
You fix these laws that are locking people up forever, but then also you change jail from being a big time out to actually something where people can grow and be better on the inside. You end working prisons to keep people from pouring their money into there and getting free labor, right? Like there's so many different things that you can do because criminal justice is my major. That's where my passion was.
Okay.
You know, I realized they're taking advantage of free labor, but if y'all go read the new Jim Crow. I don't want to go.
Yeah.
We ain't got enough time to get that.
It's a lot.
Go read the new Jim Crow.
That's a lot.
But when you go and you look at what exists and how it was built and how the prisons are full now and who it impacts the most, it impacts people of color.
Yes.
So what happens when you get a charge, right? You sell weed over a certain amount, and now you're in jail. Now you've earned the title of being a convicted felon. Now guess what?
No job.
You can't work in certain areas. So how are you going to move up? It's 10 years later. People are like, when you get your rights back. There's no simple system to get your rights back. You take away people's hope. So guess what? If all I can work at is McDonald's for the next 10 years,
I'm going to go sell this dope. Dope.
So it's not, the system isn't set up for people to really grow and change based on their environment. So if you're not changing the environment and the culture there, and investing there, then how do you expect things to change long term? It's not. Yeah. And it's not going to be an easy fix. Nothing about the black community right now is an easy fix because it's multi-layered and everyone's experience is different.
And absolutely. What I'll say to you or to the table, to the boardroom in this regard is I think it stems from education. It goes back to what we talked about like 3 or 4 episodes ago. If you grow up in a impoverished situation, all you know is Section 8. And food stamps. If I don't know anything about banks or I don't deal with banks because I've always been taught banks are bad, don't trust them because they're the white man or they're the system. It's a systematic situation. I'm not going to trust it. So now I can't go get a loan to go get a crib. So now I'm stuck on Section 8 or to go get a loan. Or I can't even go get a loan for an apartment or have an apartment because I need a good credit score. But my mother put the cable bill in my name when I was 13. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it happens. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But
I had to pay some things off.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. But at the end of the day, we have to educate ourselves on going to the next step. Because let's just say, instead of putting that cable bill in that baby's name, you put a credit card in that baby's name, right? Now you take that credit card and you use that credit card to maneuver the proper way in order to get your family to the next level, right? You climb, you take that 700 credit score from that baby and you put a couple trade lines in that baby name and you do it and you use it right and you climb, progress, and grow.
But a lot of that is stepping out of your comfort zone, though.
But we have to.
It's new, but we had there has to be this education, but along with all of that, man, because that we're talking about right now, defunding police. Defunding police does not mean
the answer.
Dismantling police.
Correct.
It means you're taking the money that they're spending, these huge budgets they have, and you're giving it to programs that can give people financial literacy.
Correct.
That can give people mental health treatments, therapies, things that I know I needed.
Super important. Super important.
But these are things that can help change our community, because it's not just about, hey, give money to black people and things are going to change.
You can't throw money at the problem.
That's what, if you can't, people need to realize that's not the only answer. Could it help? Sure. But that's not the only answer. You know, you want to know why it's not the only answer? Look at these pro leagues. And there's individuals who their lives are changed financially. And if you're not equipped to handle it, you're going to go broke. And that's the same thing with everything. You got to have resources, train people up, and teach them to reach their full potential. Because you're not trying to necessarily change people. You're trying to help them maximize the potential that they already have.
Great point. That's a great point. To transition back to family, right? I mean, when LeBron James said the other day on TV, he was like, "We're scared as black people," right? How do you guys feel about your kids right now, like growing up in America today and what it's looking like? Because obviously we see unarmed black men getting killed. Obviously we see social injustice all across America. It's a scary time, not in a way we look at it like, oh, we don't know if this is going to be our time, but in a way where like, how you think your kids is looking at this? Like how you guys, gather this information and tell your kids of what's going on.
You just got to continue to inform and educate, as things go on. Yeah. You got to continue to inform the kids. Don't hold nothing back. Mm-hmm. Don't allow the media to persuade the thoughts of the kids. Tell them exactly what's going on. Mm-hmm. And don't hold nothing back.
That's the only thing you can do. And my kids are younger, but they're going to get the real the whole way through. Mm-hmm. And it's because there's no age limit. Ask Tamir Rice. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not too young to know what's going on. And the one thing I do tell my kids, or I will tell my kids, is to always follow instructions, because we can always get at them legally, but I can't bring you back.
Right.
So I want them to be, if they're mistreating you, just let it happen. Just let it happen. Don't can get you out of jail. All the rights I taught you, everything I taught you in terms of knowing your rights and doing the right thing. I want you to know that. I want you to use it. But there's a time where there's force being used. Just take it. We can deal with it, because we can't bring you back. And there isn't always a cell phone around to help save some of these situations that we've seen.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I talked about this, a couple episodes ago. Just imagine how many situations without the cell phones now, like in the 90s, in the 2000s. Man,
how about
Think
now?
About endless situations, man. Endless situations.
Man, come on. Right. It's so many situations.
My man didn't snitch with his own. He's the reason why they all locked up. If he didn't record because he was
whatever he was doing, whatever he was doing, right?
If he didn't record, we would have never known about that. And the crazy thing is, black folks have been saying that
for years. You've been hearing us complain. Hey, the police out here getting us. They out here messing with us.
What I go back to say? Oh, they'll be all right.
They be all right.
They'll be
all right. Black people be good.
It's a situation that's not taken seriously, and we need to take a stand on it. And we're gonna have to take a stand. And we need to stand as a community. We need to stand as a whole, as a race, and stay strong and move forward and fight the situation. And I think the NBA is doing the right thing. And I want to know what the NFL is gonna do next.
We're gonna see.
So what y'all think is the next step for the NBA?
I mean,
the season is over.
You can draw. All they're doing is drawing awareness.
Yeah,
we've been drawing awareness since
the 60s,
since forever, protesting, marching.
Yeah,
but we got to get real change. We got to get in the system.
Folks
gotta vote. Gotta vote, and you gotta hold people accountable that you're actually voting for. Understand the civic process, not just that you cast your vote and they complain. No, hold your local. Let them know what your values are and force them to act on it. If not, get them up out of it.
That's for sure. And we have the right and the power to do so.
Well, we got them listening now.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? That's going to wrap it up for episode 6, Family First with Torrey Smith. We appreciate you coming on the show, man. We really do.
Thank you.
I mean, a lot of people need to, tune into your podcast too. Trending Thoughts. Go tune in, guys.
Check him out.
It's really good. It's really good.
Gotta get you back.
We have an intellectual brother right here that's really making a change in the world, and I look forward to what you're doing next too. No problem. Also, check us out on www.snstalk.net for the latest apparel that's coming out. We got our hat line coming out as well. Check us out the latest episodes of Winner's Mentality, Ballin' or Nah, and Dream Killers, and as well as the one that we just did with Vernon, which was
Culture
Race. So and that's pretty much it. So tune into next time and stay tuned.
Peace.
Peace.